Crypto Nation and mining family, what is going on out there? What's up? What's up? What's up? I see all you not cool, happy hashers out there. What is going on? As you guys are sliding up in here, don't forget to smash that Lizzie like button. If you're new here, certainly subscribe, hit the bell notification for everything, all that good stuff. This way you know whenever I'm dropping videos. Yo, you guys know the drill. That's what's up. And if you guys are new here, love to have you part of the community. Discord links are down below, guys. Love to have you be part of the community. It is free to join, guys. Yo. So what is going on? I see Crypto Bedell up into his house dropping that app. Hey, what up, Nick V? Going with the yo. So I'm glad everybody is having a great week. Y'all are here and all that good stuff. So let's go ahead and dive right on into today's news, guys. Yo. So we've got a new GPU coming out here, guys. Well, it's not really new, but Lead Tech, brand that people in the United States don't really hear too often. It is a Taiwanese based company, so typically we don't see this really kind of coming out of Taiwan or the Chinese area, except through, you know, secondhand markets, or maybe you are directly shopping overseas to go grab these from Alibaba or AliExpress. Be careful what's going on to those places. That is a smorgasbord of scams. But this card, I'll just like rip on it right off the bat. Yes, it is a 4070 Ti. There are no Founders Editions, so pretty much the AIB partners have a little free reign with what they're doing. This card's going to be a little bit of a shorter one. Of course, it's not like a 30, like the 3090. Like XE3 versus For the Win 3, where the For the Win 3 was about an inch taller almost. And, you know, you're talking a difference in the thickness of the radiator. So size-wise, pretty comparable for, you know, a 70 class GPU. The big thing that I will rip on right off the bat is this stupid little X. Why would we want to disrupt the flow of air, the airflow disruption for some kind of an aesthetic? This is a design thing that I have never agreed with on any brand that has put anything in front of the fan. If you guys know how aerodynamics works, you put a little divider in there and you're going to mess everything up. So as this thing is like basically going to be breathing on that center fan, and basically if you think about it, the fan towards the AIO, towards the rear plate where you plug in your video cables at, that's going to take the brunt of your cooling, right? And then the fan right next to it is going to take all the rest of the slack. So they went ahead and messed all that up and then threw a third fan in there. I don't think that they probably didn't even need to put that third fan in there if they would have just, you know, gotten rid of that stupid X, and it could have been a dual fan GPU, would have been just fine on a 70 class GPU. So basically they've really hindered that center fan, and if you're going to be using this thing for mining at all, that center fan's going to be wailing away, not doing anything. So that's not very efficient for cooling. I do like the idea that they don't have the cooling fin stack any blockage on there. So I mean, what airflow does get through this will come out. So you know, the card's going to be a little bit shorter versus the 4080. One would expect that, but not by much. It's still going to take up about 3 slots. You know, 3.5. You know, probably about 2.5 slots on this one. They are saying, you know, but then you got to remember, you got to have airflow in front of this. So technically, you're going to need at least a full slot worth of airflow in front of the GPU so that it has proper cooling. So you're giving up 3.5 slots no matter what. So if you're putting this into a small form factor build, guys, be careful with that. Make sure that it's not pressing up against a solid flat object. Make sure it's meshed panel on this. This is the only way that it's going to breathe properly. Now for mining wise on this, it's going to hit just like any of the other 4070 Ti's. Once, if I ever get my hands on one of these, I'll be able to do some testing. Otherwise, I will have to do what all of you guys are doing, which is waiting for some people that I would know if they happen to get it, and I could sit there and maybe talk them into letting me play with their GPU after they get it, because we aren't made of money. Bear market really hurt everybody. Let's be real about it. Otherwise, it's just another GPU coming into the market. They get a little bit more free reign because there is no reference model on this. It's going to be PCI Express 4.0, 12 gigabytes of GDDR6X, base clock, 2310, boost clock at 2,610. 22,610. Well, I don't even understand how they can actually trip. It's like way higher. 2,000, right? Or no, 22,610 megahertz. That's crazy off the boost. I don't know if that's a typo or not, but yeah, I've never seen it a GPU be able to boost that high. Something doesn't seem right. That's why you see me stumbling right there. I'm like, am I reading that right? 22,610 on the boost clock. I can understand maybe 2,610. I think there's a second 2 that got fat fingered into this. That's my thing. I think it's boosting up maybe 3 to 400 megahertz, more than likely. That would be the baller of all baller cards. And no, somebody fat fingered it. That's for sure. So this is, for as far as they can tell, LeadTech's 4070 Ti WinFast is not available for sale anywhere. So pricing on this is unknown. If you like the little X blocking out that middle fan, you like the design cue on that, then this card is for you. Otherwise, I would be staying away from this just because of the inefficiency on their shroud. Coming out of China and Taiwan, there are some unusual cards that do come out, and they don't always perform the best, but they are going after looks over performance. So if this is what you're looking for, more power to you. And then Intel, of course, we all know about Intel with their Arc GPU drivers, guys. German site had shared a comprehensive look at the Intel GPU drivers. As we all know, Intel graphics team was rather straightforward with the Arc GPU drivers, had their issues from the very start. So it's no secret that the biggest problem in delivering Arc GPUs on time was software. Bum, bum, bum. And on top of that, a very complex design setup of assembly of the cards probably slowed down the mass production of these things because it was just too complex to really put together. But they are going to be looking. They are going to be adding in DirectX 9 APIs so that older games will work on this card. This is a known issue with the Arc lineup that they needed to. They didn't have the full implementation of everything, so they were basically very focused on making sure that DirectX 12 and Vulkan APIs were working, which were all their newer games. And DirectX 9 was like a secondary thought. They were just looking at trying to get it out there and working. There was a little bit of testing in the wild with the Arc GPUs. I did get one. I did have, it's like gaming-wise, the older games didn't work at all. Anything that was using DirectX 11 would work. DirectX 12, no problem. But my biggest complaint after just not supporting games going backwards is how can I put it? Like their own personal software that they use for the ARC software to control your GPU. It is horrible at best. It like overlays over your monitor, and you can't window it, so you can't shrink it down or anything like that. What up, Golden Wolf? It's like, what up, Rude? What's going on, my dudes? But, you know, it's like, what up, what up? And, you know, it's like, so my biggest complaint was in their own personal software. Overclocking was just had a sloppy feel to it. Like it didn't feel like I had a lot of control over what I was doing in there. Fan control is non-existent. I can't just set my own fan curve on there. It just kind of, boop, this is what you get. So a lot of, you know, it's like, I know they've addressed some of that since me getting the GPU. As of right now, my ARC GPU is at the facility running the facility's main computer. So I mean, it just works perfectly for that. And then if we want to stream on there, it's got the AB1 encoding in there too. So it'll have the newer style encoder on there, but it's got a good CPU in there too. So I mean, everything that we need to do with that rig over there, we'll be able to do. We're not looking at gaming on it, but you know, it's like if they can sit there and fix their own personal software and make it to where you have better control for the overclocking features of the GPU, I'll be more on board with this. But you know, it's like in order for it to have enough use case in it, they've got to make this thing user friendly for everybody else, which means that it has to have support for all the games that most people are going to be playing. Most people are going to be grabbing an Intel GPU because it's going to be more budget friendly. And as long as it plays all the games, who cares what manufacturer GPU you got in there? You know, if it plays all the game, if it does exactly what you need it to do. Mining wise, that's again where the overclocking software built into their own stuff. If that would work better, it might have. I might be able to dial in performance, but performance was wildly all over the place with this GPU. For as far as mining wise on this, I wouldn't be jumping on board with that quite yet. For streaming or gaming, you know, for sure, you know, if you're looking for something a little bit more budget friendly, and this suits your fancy and you want to have a pure Intel rig, bro, this GPU is for you. And with all the updates that they know that, you know, we know they're going to be pulling out updates. As they've been having these updates coming out, performance has been getting better on the GPU. So perfect, you know, for a complete Intel build. So I mean, like, I have no problems with saying that I own a card, own an Intel GPU, because, you know, it's like as they make the better drivers, you know, they're getting back into, like I said, I was not going to dog on Intel for bad drivers if they were consistently working on it, and they haven't made a discrete GPU in quite some time, guys. So I'm willing to cut them some slack, and it looks like they are just kind of chugging along with getting the software updates as necessary. And there is that new little fight from the RDNA 2 versus RDNA 3 GPUs now. Bro, guys. So AMD, you know, it's like looking like, you know, the 7900 XT is 7% faster than a 6950 XT, but costs 28% more. I would almost say, duh. Somebody who's grabbed a 6950 XT doesn't necessarily need to jump into the new GPU, period. And now, I'm not sitting here saying that, you know, the 6950 XT versus the 7900 XT, and only being a 7 to 10% improvement, being 28% more money, So I would sit there and take this in two parts. One, you're talking about new technology coming out. Boom. There's a little extra cost there. And on top of that, inflation's rampant. Is AMD padding their profits up a little bit in here? Hard to say. I don't know what their costs are behind the scenes. None of us do. All we're looking at is, well, if it's 7% faster, then it should only cost 7% more. Yes, in a typical situation, that I would agree with you. In today's economy, hard to follow. It depends on what AMD all has in the background going on. And this would also mean that the person who has a 6950 XT, do you need to buy the new GPU for 7% performance gain? No, even I wouldn't do that. It's like, so, but if you're looking at trying to build a rig of mining, a mining rig, I would probably still, I would be looking at what's more budget friendly. How far can my dollar go, and how much hardware am I going to be able to deploy? If I'm wanting to build a 7900 XT rig purely, you're going to pay the premium for it. Period. You wait a little while, that premium will drop. AMD has always been known for launch days. Whenever they release something new, it's up in the higher pricing. And then over time, they start bringing their price down. So this might be a hold up, wait, type of situation. But if you're on a 6950 XT, you need to really update. Probably not. It's like, and if you're building a mining rig, that's a whole different discussion. It's like at that point, you're looking at efficiency of hardware and price of deployment of that same set hardware. So we just have to, people need to calm down when they're looking at some of the stuff. I've kind of heard people kind of dogging on this a little bit, and it's like, depends on where you're at in your products, in their product stack. Even with a 6600 XT, you're looking at 208 frames per second. How much better? I mean, are you on a 4K monitor or a 1080p monitor? A 1080p monitor, you really don't need much more than a 6600, a 6600 XT, a 6650 XT. You can be in the lower end of the product stack and save yourself some money. A 6650 XT, you're at $299 for 200 frames per second. If you're a 1080p monitor, you're golden. It's like anything in that product stack range should be able to push 1080p perfectly. You can, you're at that point limited by your monitor. And if you're, an EA Sports gamer, I get it then. Then you're trying to have any kind of competitive edge over your opponent. You're in a different, you're in a different class of buyer. You're in that buyer looking for the top of the line performance. But everybody else, I'm I'm not this hardcore gamer. I got a 1080 Ti. I mean, I was on a 1080 Ti. I had a 1070 in here, 1080 Ti for a while, and then I finally upgraded to a 3080 Ti. Only because I had it and I spent too much money for it during the mining boom, right? It was a $2,000 card. Is it worth $2,000? No, it's a 1080. It's a 3080 Ti. It's not worth it. Not at $2,000. But it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, like it depending on what kind of a gaming rig you're trying to set up. If you got 1080p monitors, you don't need to go extremely high up onto that product stack and part with good hard money, right? Do you need $1,000? Do you need to spend $1,000 for a GPU when a $400 GPU will do the trick for you? Probably not. If you want the bragging rights, that's on you. But me personally, I'm gonna sit there and I'm gonna evaluate the type of games I'm playing. My monitor, my best monitor is right in front of me. It's a 2K monitor, 1440p. If GPUs after the 10 series or the RX 580 series, right? If they can't play in 2K, they have an issue. So with that being said, I don't need to go up in, too much higher into my products, into these product stacks. Even myself, I'll probably be sitting on this 3080 Ti for a hot minute because there's absolutely no need for anything that I'm doing to come off of this GPU. Maybe if there's a game later on, way down the road, because I'll tell you what, the last GPU I had, I rocked out a GTX 550 Ti for almost 15 years. I mean, that's how long you can hold on to it, as long as you're able to overclock the snot out of it. We'll get into that one in a little bit here, guys. But, it's like, what I like about AMD with their GPUs, at least they've got their in-house overclocking tool. If it works, sometimes it's a little wonky, but for the most part, I haven't had too many problems with AMD's overclocking tools. Their drivers, it's always been the running joke that at least they work. You get the basics, they work. And at least we know now also that the dying GPUs from AMD on the 6000 series is more or less from one vendor, probably either being stored improperly or were mined to death. So I'm going to pick the latter, that they were mined to death, and they tried to fix them, and these were the ones that weren't fixable, and they tried to sell them off as new. As this is now becoming a bigger problem with miners now trying to offload GPUs as if they were new to try to recover any bit of capital they can from these GPUs that they overpaid for initially, and now they're underwater with all of their loans. And side note here, since I did talk about the AV1 encoding, it looks like Discord now with AV1 streaming support be the first major platform to support the AV1 streaming. So if you guys like to stream directly to Discord with your games or whatever, you can now do this with the AV1 encoder. Just know that this is being done with the GPU. So if you have a game that you are playing that is very hot and heavy on that GPU, and you have the ability to do AV1 encoding, like Techman, if he could test something out, like if anybody has any of the either the AMD cards, or because AMD card supports AV1 encoding, and so does the Intel card. I'd be curious to see how it integrates into Discord while streaming and gaming at the same time. Do you see any stutters? Does anybody on the other side see any stutters? Just to see how intrusive the AV1 encoding is. That would be one that I'd love to test out. So if anybody out there has a capability to testing it out, let me know. I would love to help test this out with you guys. Have you come into the Discord, start playing a few different games, and have you streaming with the AV1 encoder, and see how it performs. That was just like a little side note, just a little itty bitty side note. And then Galax entering the high-speed memory market with their Hall of Fame series. So Galax will soon release its DDR5 memory, offering speeds of 6,800 mega transfers a second and higher, guys. Yo! Frequencies above 7,000 mega transfers per second are no longer out of reach for customers. However, support for such memory may be limited to Intel platform for now. This is true. Not every motherboard will support this. It will only be your higher end motherboards from Intel. So your Hall of Fame motherboards from Galax, You know, any of the overclocker motherboards. These are going to be the ones that are going to have the support for the 6,000 mega transfers per second and higher. So I know, right? 6,800 mega transfers per second. So I mean, that and just imagine that you might be able to see up to 8,000 mega transfers per second speeds. That I think that we might see that in either this generation or the next. Oh hell yeah. Hell yeah, Tech Man. It's like I'm out in RPM's Discord. Just got an A770 as well. Would be interesting to see running an Intel card on the minimum TVP. 100%. And yeah, even seeing like how it'll stream out too with the AV1 encoder. I'm interested in all of that, all the data. So, Techman, test that out with yours. Driving so speech to text sucks. Yep. I hear you on that one. What up, Wheeling Crypto? What's up, my dude? Yo. So, I would be really interested in seeing how the Galax actually continuing doing what they're doing with pushing the limits of everything. I would be very happy to see Galax. Please, Galax, if you happen to be listening to my little itty bitty YouTube channel, please give us overclocking software. We are in desperate need of overclocking software that will continue to be developed on because the developers will get paid. And that will bring us into today's hot topic, guys. So, MSI Afterburner devs say that the overclocking app is probably dead, guys. Bum, bum, bum. So, Alexei Nikola Shunk, I probably butchered the hell out of it. He is Alex is the guy who's developing for MSI Afterburner. He lives in Russia. So basically, because of the sanctions that the United States has put onto Russia now the rest of the world gets to suffer for something. An unintended victim in this whole situation. So since the war started in the Ukraine, Alex has not gotten paid. And MSI has tried to get him paid in many different ways, and each attempt has not worked. I know, Golden Wolf. Why not just send this guy Bitcoin? I know, boom, big brain experience right there. Why are we not using crypto? This is exactly what it was designed to do. If MSI had half a freaking brain cell, they'd buy Bitcoin, send it to this guy, and boom, you're instantly paid. He doesn't have to worry about anything. I don't think Alex is going to be sitting here boo-hooing over getting Bitcoin as a payment structure. This is exactly what it was made for. Some people start blowing up MSI right now and tell them to pay this guy in Bitcoin. I'm just saying. You know, just like a call to arms on this one. Just email the hell out of them and be like, pay Alex in Bitcoin. Problem solved. There is nobody that's going to be able to stop the payment. It works. I'm just saying. This is how anybody with half a brain would think of it. But I don't know why MSI doesn't want to, ooh, we don't want to touch it type of deal. But they've already been trying to get him paid. So just pay him. They owe him money. It's not like you're sitting there and giving it to the Russian government. You're paying an employee that just so happens to live in Russia. Is it that guy's fault that Russia has a war? Hell no. They jailed an Ethereum developer for sending stuff to North Korea. That's because he was probably somebody that was very dirty also. If you're sending money to North Korea, it's probably because you got ties to it. Now, I don't know the situation on that one, but something tells me being an Ethereum developer in North Korea, he probably deserved it. But trying to pay an employee that happens to live in Russia, you should be able to sidestep that in any which way. Like, fucking MSI can hand the money, hey, send me the Bitcoin, and I will send it over there, type of deal. Or go send it to a person in another country and then send it to them. I mean, there are tons of workarounds. Bitcoin was designed just for this situation. And you can sit there and send Bitcoin 100% anonymously. Hell, you're worried about being known about it? Do it in Monero. Problem solved. Mic drop. Nobody will ever know you did it. And this guy gets paid. He should move to the U.S. It's easier said than done. I mean, you got to think about what kind of a commitment it is to uproot yourself out from your home country. It doesn't even matter if you're, truly a Russian, an actual Russian. You could be a Polish guy living in Russia that was born and raised there, right? You could be, a German that born and raised there in Russia. Yes, you live in Russia, you're born in Russia, but you're still German or you're still Polish, whatever it may be, right? Whatever the story is, it doesn't matter. Like your whole life is over there, and you're uprooting yourself over. It's a big commitment, but to punish the people for the actions of a government is the most asinine thing I've ever heard of, and it's some of the stuff that crypto was designed to skate around. This is exactly what it was made to do. So if they would sit there and pay this guy in Monero, man, the government wouldn't even know that he got paid and who did it. And this would have been a conversation that would have never have happened because this guy would continue to get paid. He does say that he's going to try to keep doing what he can with it because it's such a widely used tool. And what's really kind of funny is that even though it's being developed by a Russian, they haven't stopped anybody from being able to access it. I say just, fucking make this thing open source. Put it on GitHub, make it open source, and let the world have it. If you're going to abandon it, put it on GitHub for the world to use. Let somebody else pick up the slack on it. Otherwise, EVGA needs to do that with precision and make precision open source, considering that they don't even have a GPU division anymore. Let EVGA do the same thing. It's like if EVGA twilights Precision X and MSI Afterburner gets twilighted because of a non-payment situation, man, there's no more fucking overclocking tools for us that we can really utilize that are good. Oh yeah, Wheeling. There's many, many ways to get this guy paid. And, sucks that the guy is in Russia and is being hurt by the the U.S. gangbangers putting sanctions on their government. Our government gangbangers are putting sanctions on their government gangbangers. And who's the one that gets hurt? All of us. We're the ones that pay for it, not these elites. Yep. So here's another thing that we get to be affected by because of government's bad decisions all around. Right, but it's like it's easier if you have somebody that already has the software, and then makes it open source. Because as soon as you make it open sourced, now you can sit there and let the community support it. Let this be a community project moving forward. That would be my hopes. I hope that EVGA and MSI make this more of a community-driven project moving forward. Because you're going to have there's going to be people that are going to want this. Yes, not everybody overclocks your GPUs anymore. It's something for a smaller market now. And it is what it is. But hopefully they make this a community project. I mean, that's my hope and prayer behind all of this stuff. Because we all it's like, for mining specifically, unless we're going to be mining only in Linux, Windows mining moving forward with newer GPUs are going to be a lot harder if there's no real overclockable tools in there. You're going to have to try to, you're going to have to push it over onto the mining software to have that overclockable features built into it. Which is fine. It's like a lot of them are set up like that already. But now you're very much reliant on their software and their software operating properly. So if the miner doesn't boot up properly, does it bork your overclocking with it? You see where my issue is. So it's best for me. It's best to have a separate overclocking tool running than relying on the mining software to do it all for you. Because we all know that occasionally the mining software glitches. And hopefully it doesn't take out our GPUs with it, right? So, I mean, it is what it is. A couple of bucks on Steam will cover the cost. So, yeah, I mean, that's just kind of how it's like. Now, don't let NVIDIA put one in experience. Oh, God, that was the other part, Golden Wolf. I'm like, okay. And Gamers Nexus actually said it, too. He's like, what? Is NVIDIA going to make their own overclocking tool now and put it behind a sign-in wall that I've got to now log into GeForce Experience garbage in order to be able to have the overclocking ability? Because as it stands, and it's one thing I hate with GeForce Experience, is that upon launching the game, GeForce Experience will try to optimize your GPU for optimal gameplay. And it's like, GeForce Experience, when it fires up with the game, would override my MSI Afterburner settings. I hate that. And then two, it was always like a conservative. Like, I was able to push my 1080 Ti much further than what GeForce Experience was stating that they would like to push it at. I'm like, bro, I've got a Zotac Amp Extreme Core Edition. It is like the overclocker's like dream next to having a Galax Hall of Fame edition or having a Kingpin. It's like this was the runner up behind those two guys. And you're putting in a very conservative overclock on there for a game I overclocked the snot out of for it just to get the optimum frame rate. I hated that. And that's why once I started noticing that, I just, got rid of GeForce Experience off my computer and have never used that bloatware since. But yeah. Yeah, it starts spazzing out when it loads up on yeah, on GeForce Experience, exactly. Bro, that'd be a freaking brilliant idea. I wish I knew how to get a hold of this guy. I would be like, bro, what can we do to help you out? We want you to continue to develop. Bitcoin, Monero. Monero would be probably perfect for you, considering you're in Russia. But yeah, I mean, it's like I would hate to sit there and have to rely on NVIDIA for this. Please, dear Lord, do not make me have to fucking be reliant on it. Because if MSI, if there's no more overclocking tools, then it's like, oh my god, we've got just bad overclocking tools, period. Because EVGA, they don't have a GPU division anymore. So why would and I agree with their stance on it. It was, if they don't have any GPUs to be overclocked, why should they enable support for the Precision Precision X overclocking tool through them? I get that. You know, it's like, so please, MSI, figure something out with this guy. Like, get this guy some Bitcoin stat. Force for the inexperienced, aka the typical gamer. Yeah. And or it's, you know, Gay Force is for the people who want to overclock it, but there's nothing left, and they want to have at least a bump of performance added. And then what? When everybody is forced to come over onto Gay Force Experience, that I'm gonna, you know, that they put it behind a paywall, bro. That sounds like what Tesla's doing, what Intel wants to do. Oh yeah, you want more unlocked on your core? Well, you can pay us a little bit extra, and we'll unlock a little more on your CPU that you already purchased. Like Tesla's having a subscription plan for rear-seated heat warmers. You know, I just see a very slippery slope of, oh, you want to have a little extra stuff? You can pay for it. Yeah, I'm not cool with that either. And it's like, it's bad enough that AMD has their Ryzen Master. I have a love-hate relationship with Ryzen Master. I'll just say it like that. When Ryzen Master works, it works very well. When it's new hardware going onto Ryzen Master, it's wonky at best. Because again, you know, you're dealing with drivers. Drivers are shit through AMD for at least the first few months. Until they finally, oh, this is what we did wrong. Okay, guys, fix it. And then it starts to work as intended. But primarily, I use MSI Afterburner. Period. I do not want to have to be reliant on anybody else, guys, especially NVIDIA for my overclocking needs. Because they're not going to allow you to overclock it while you're mining. It takes away that function from you. And that's another issue that I have. So, hopefully, MSI figures something out here. And this doesn't die. That's just me. I know it's just me. And then subscription fees are theft. 100% Tech Man. I will 100% agree with you on that. It's like, oh, you want to have that extra feature on your GPU or extra feature on this or that, or you can buy a subscription fee. Yeah. That's almost as bad as micro. I would almost rather deal with them with a microtransaction at that point. Be like, oh, you want an overclocking fee tool? Well, it's $10. If it's just $10 for it, okay. And I get to independently overclock my stuff for $10. That's all I have to pay. I'm cool. But if it's a subscription fee, I'm going to be a very unhappy person. GPU Jesus will be very pissed. I'm just saying. Oh yeah, with the LHR stuff with that, and that was all drivers, drivers, and you know, they were able to sidestep it with drivers. So, like, as much as I want to dog on NVIDIA for the LHR move, I can kind of see why they did it. Do I agree with them that, you know, they were like, hey, we'll sell a GPU to anybody, and if you want to mine on it, it's not going to be very good at it. So do you really want this card? So they were trying to put it into the hands of gamers, developers, yada, yada, yada. Do I agree with it? No. Did it make a difference in the long term? No. But when it comes down to, you know, what we're able to do with our GPUs, it's slowly they're starting to try to erode the idea that if I buy this, I don't truly own it. The purchase is for the rental of this, for the lifetime that I'm using it is the rental on it. I don't particularly agree with that either. That is the Apple model. That's how Apple treats their customers, and is why I'm anti-Apple products. I would hate to see the Apple business model being transposed across the board. It'll be a very bad thing in the tech ecosystem. That will be like a little cancer going through. I wouldn't be I'm not I have no issues with their high-powered adapter. Plug that shit in all the way. Everybody that's been having issues, the cable was not properly seated. Gamers Nexus did a deep dive on this to figure out exactly how to make them fail. Not connecting them in all the way is going to be the biggest thing. And the problem is that it's hard to tell if it's been plugged in all the way. So plug those things in before you mount those GPUs anywhere, and give it a little pull on the connector to make sure that it's actually seated all the way. The clip on there is not like the standard 8-pin where you push it in and you hear that nice little pronounced click. The high-powered one is a lot quieter when it clicks in. So make sure that you're just jamming the shit out of it to get it at the bottom out that connector, and everybody that's been doing that has been fine. The connectors have been used in data centers for a few years, guys. This is not a new connector standard. It's just the first time the general public is seeing it. And it's the first time the general public has realized that they may have been not they're just not used to pushing in a stiffer connector. That's all it is. You haven't seen data centers burning down because of this connector. Let's just put it that way. So, I mean, like, I don't have the newer style connector for the 40 series, but I have Founders Editions from the 30 series, and they basically utilize the same connector. It's the same connector minus 4 pins. Yeah, 4 pins, and that's just for the sensing wires for your power supply. So, I mean, realistically, with the first time I plugged one in, I'm like, wow, this feels weird, and then I gave it a little extra push, and I heard it click. I'm assuming that the 40 series are the same way, where you're like, ugh. You're like, did I get it in? You give it a little more push, and you hear that little faint click. I think that's going to be most people's issues. Everybody that has been showing pictures of their melted cables have also shown that there is a distinct line on the connector for how far they were actually shoved into the connector. So if you ain't got a good full bite on there, it's going to heat up and do bad things. Thankfully, it won't start a fire. There's not enough voltage going through it. 12 volts won't start a fire, but it will make everything melt. But thankfully, no fire. It's not hot enough for ignition. But outside of that, it looks like most everybody has been warranting it out, even though it is human error. Boom. And then we all know that FTX's implosion has wreaked havoc in multiple different areas, guys. But there's been one company out of Australia that got bailed out. Doesn't look like anybody else is going to be feeling the love from this one at all. There's airlines, gaming companies, a whole bunch of companies that are going to feel the wrath of this one from FTX. So we're as some of this stuff, I'm actually curious. I'm trying to find out. There is a airline company that FTX was involved with. I would like to find out if it's Frontier Airlines, because they're a shitty airline company. Don't ever use Frontier Airlines for any of your flying needs. Same thing with Spirit. Spirit and Frontier. They're like two peas in a pod. But I'm curious to see which airline company that FTX actually. It's the only reason why I'm like bringing it up. Itty bitty little side note. So I'm curious to see if they invested in the Frontier or not. I bet you they did, because they're a shitty company. But moving along, different side note now. Circle denies blaming SEC for shuttering a $9 billion plan to go public. Poloniex is just another company in the crypto space, right? Poloniex and Circle. So Circle bought out Poloniex, and you're just looking at a couple of exchanges, right? So Circle has denied reports of blaming the SEC for blowing its $9 billion plan to go public. They could not go public as it stands. They could not do it as Circle. They had to go through a dummy corporation. Basically, what they were trying to do was turn themselves into a SPAC. What a SPAC is a special purpose acquisition company, also known as a blank check company. It's a shell corporation listed on the stock exchange with the purpose of acquiring private companies, thus making it a public without having to go through the traditional initial public offering process and the associated regulations thereof. So it's a way to basically sidestep the SEC for basically offering securities. And who backs up Circle? That will be JP Morgan. So JP Morgan bought out Circle. Circle buys out Poloniex. You can see how this little one goes. So JP Morgan has had exposure to crypto for a hot minute while sitting here talking shit about it. Just let you guys know that actual... it's like, American and Delta? That's where he put that stuff at? Damn. What up, Patrick? It's like American and Delta Airlines. Damn. Because those are two good airlines. I have no problems with American, and I usually fly either American or United. Those are my preferred ways. It's like, damn, I like Delta. I know. Delta's not bad. I've flown them before, never had an issue. Hopefully American and Delta doesn't have issues moving forward. Hopefully. So basically, I bet you how it's kind of worked with Circle was that somebody in the company probably made a mention that they think that because the SEC was dragging their feet with this acquisition, but it wasn't publicly stated, nor was it somebody representing directly the company itself. Probably like a small little passing conversation that somebody was just expressing their frustrations. And then Circle came out and says, they are not blaming the SEC for anything related to the mutual termination of our SPAC merger agreement with Concord, and any statements to the contrary are inaccurate. So that's where it just kind of makes me think that somebody was probably expressing some frustration, and it got out as this was the official company's position, even though it isn't. So that's kind of where I have an issue with, where people think that you represent the company 24/7. I'm at home, I'm at the bar, I'm at a friend's birthday party, something, family member's birthday party, whatever, and I say something, and it means that I'm now still representing the company, even though I'm off the clock. So God knows where this one really derived from. Probably was somebody like just kind of voicing their frustration, and a private conversation got let out into the open, and oh yeah, they said this, and then Circle had to come back and be like, no, this is our official position. Officially. What up, MC? What up? So Circle will not be listed on the New York Stock Exchange. Was pegged on them being able to combine with Concord, a company set up by Bob Diamond via a special purpose acquisition company arrangement, also known as a SPAC. So hard to say where they're what's going to happen with Circle moving forward. Is somebody else going to try to set up a SPAC agreement? Back in the 80s, whenever the SPACs were first coming out, this was a last-ditch effort before a company imploded. They were like, oh, look, we're a SPAC. And they'd get new capital to come into the company just later on to fail. Many companies in the 80s died shortly after turning themselves into a SPAC. That's just how it goes. You're just being acquired, and once they've been acquired, the CEOs got their money, so they're good to go. Gone. That's basically how all these companies would sit there. They would have a special acquisition, purchase it. They'd get that little pump on the price action. They would make a bunch of money off of it, and it was a win-win for everybody, except for the actual stock shareholders, which would have been me and you, if we were involved with that particular company. So yeah, not always a good thing on the other end. It was almost like the 80s version of a rug pull, because you knew you were going to look at a price pump, and you had to be willing to sell it right away, as soon as it hit your target number, without any emotional, there's ways to be able to make money with them going onto a SPAC, but your window of opportunity is very small once the hype is. So we'll have to see how they will be operating in the future, if they will try to go in for another SPAC, considering that they do have backing from JP Morgan on this. I would almost bet that they will try again. It's not like they're going to go anywhere. So with that being said, guys, that was pretty much all the stuff that I had going on for today. So thank you everybody for being here, smashing that Lizzie like button, subscribing, all that good stuff. Certainly join the Discord. Links down below if you're new here. If you'd like to have your mining rigs hosted at the Family Mine LLC, please think about joining the Patreon. Links down below, because once we open up our doors officially, if I can get it that far, the perks that we're going to have in the Patreon will end, guys. So if you'd like to have VIP access to the Family Mine, please certainly think about joining the Patreon. All that good stuff. If you guys have any comments or questions, now is the perfect time to ask away, guys. If you guys don't have any questions, certainly drop those FAs in the Chizity chat, guys. Yo. Anybody got any other comments or questions? Or just drop FAs, I say, because you guys are all rated F for freaking awesome. Yo! Golden Wolf with the FAs, Wheeling Crypto with the got Bedell with the FA. That's what's up, guys. Come on, there's 10 of you awesome people here. I should see 10 awesome people dropping FA in the Chizity chat. Before I sign up out of here. Oh, yeah. Got all those FAs. Thank you, everybody, for being here. All that good stuff. And I will be back on tomorrow. And for all of you guys that have been missing my morning workouts, I've been just kind of taking it easy with my back. Because after the plane flight in, I passed out on the plane, and I must have just hyperextended everything in there, and it's starting to feel better now. I've been working out though, just not on camera. I've been just doing it later on in the day, just so that I can try to loosen up the muscles before I start working out and all that good stuff. Oh yeah, Tech Man. Be sure to vote for him on Gold Shell's Discord. And let's get another SC box. Yo. So, yep, thank you everybody for being here. Definitely shout out to Tech Man. If you're in the Gold Shell Discord, vote for Tech Man. Yo. Gotta always help represent one of our own fine community members. Yo. That's what's up. So with that being said, thank you everybody for being here. All that good stuff. Peace out. Stay savage. May your watts be low and your hash be high. I'll see you guys on the next one. Yo.